Hi, everyone. Really excited about our guest here today. She is a author, a course creator, and an amazing online personality. Has amazing skills with video and with people and with the science of people. And in fact, that's probably where you can find her, right? It's The Science of People, Vanessa?
Yeah, that's right.
And also an author recently of a book called Captivate around the science of succeeding with people, a subject that I'm really interested in. So definitely interested to learn more about that. So welcome, Vanessa Van Edwards. Really excited to have you here. Also a longtime Thinkific user, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. So, well, just really quickly, let's let them know where they can, if they're interested, especially after this chat, if they can find out more about you. Best places, is it thescienceofpeople.com?
Yeah, that's our lab homepage. So you have games on there, videos, all the experiments we're running. Yeah, that's the best place.
Cool. And if they want to check out the book around Captivate, the best place to do that is at Amazon or through you, or?
Yeah, Amazon, it's going to be in bookstores too, hopefully. So
nice.
Wherever books are sold, those
Awesome.
Amazing phrases.
Nice. Okay, good. Excellent. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about now something that you're an expert on, I know, is body language. So I'd love to, I think for the people creating courses, and this is actually something I'd like to learn more about from you, is some of the body language on video, in particular, and tying that together both with body language of teaching and body language on video and body language in online courses. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of your videos in your online courses, and they definitely work well. So how do you do it? What if you're talking to people who are course creators and they're making video? What are the key things you'd be sharing with them on that?
Yes. So I think that one of the hurdles that a lot of course creators fall into without realizing it's happening is that they focus a lot on the content. Obviously, if you're a teacher, you're thinking about teaching method and slides and evidence and student activities. And so you get really bogged down in what you're going to say, which makes a lot of sense. And the problem with that is that we don't think about how we want to say it. And when you look at research, the research is very clear. At a minimum, which is crazy, 60% of our communication is nonverbal. And some studies say it's up to 90%. So the problem is as a teacher, if you're putting 100% of your effort into what you're going to say, you're effectively teaching with only 40% of your ability. And so there's a really amazing study that looked at the power of nonverbal specifically with teachers. And they found that when students make teacher evaluations, they're the same whether they've seen an entire semester worth of courses versus just the first 7 seconds. So in other words, people decide how good of a teacher you are before they actually hear you teach.
Wow.
Which is, it's terrifying, a little terrifying. And this has been replicated in many, many different ways. Professor Stephen Sessi did a study on this. They've done studies in Austria on it with violinists. Over and over again, they find that audiences, students decide what they're going to think about a course in those first few seconds. Usually we don't even think about those first few seconds. In fact, those are the first few seconds where you're the most nervous, especially for us online creators. We're usually alone, right? We're like in a room with our camera, or maybe if we're lucky, we have a spouse or a small team helping us. And you turn on the camera, and those are the most nerve-wracking moments, right? You're like, hello, everyone. Good to see you. Those are the worst moments when you're the coldest. So I wanted to talk about the first impression, if you could, and then also video strategies throughout the course, if that's okay.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really interesting. So I had usually I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before, but no idea about that forming that first impression so fast for online, essentially online course reviews and evaluating you as a teacher. So
if you look at retention rates, for us, I think as online course creators, we have two challenges. One is getting a student, right? Convincing them that we are the teacher to guide them, that the investment is worth it, that this course is going to help them or change their lives. That's problem number one, which is a hard one. The second problem is keeping the student and getting the student to watch your course. Because if you have a student who watches your course, you have the behavior change you want. They're less likely to ask for a refund. They're more likely to leave a positive review. They're more willing to buy more things for you. And they're going to be a loyal, true fan. Hopefully you've converted them. Those are actually two separate hurdles. So in those first few seconds, that is usually when someone decides that they're going to stick with you or not, right? That's when they're like, am I going to make a couple of hours watching this person, or am I going to listen to it in the background, or worst of all, am I just going to turn it off?
Right.
So the very first thing that we look at when we're trying to assess someone is we're trying to assess psychological trust. I know that's like a huge fancy phrase, but all it means is, can I trust this person to take me on some kind of a journey? In our case, it's an intellectual journey, right? It's teaching something, but in dates or negotiations, it might be some other kind of journey. And the way that we assess safety is, it's very a limbic part of our brain. It's a very instinctual part of our brain. Is this person going to be a threat to me? And what's interesting is a lot of this has to do with our hands. So when we look at eye tracking studies in our lab, we found that participants look at the hands before they actually look at the eyes and face.
Yeah. And as you do this, I'm getting very self-conscious of my own body language, even in this way. I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong here?
No, it's okay. You're perfect. You're perfect. Don't get self-conscious. Don't worry. All my friends say the same thing, but then they get used to it and realize that I turn it off during most times.
Good. But you're so speaking my language. This student success thing, you're right. It's for anyone watching this, it's hugely important. And that dichotomy of get people in and then get them to be successful or finish and get value out of your course is, I see that as the most important thing in online teaching right now. So love that you have some stuff on this. So your hands, we're at the hands, sorry.
Yes. And I also think this is the differentiator between good teachers and great teachers. Okay, so when you first see someone, you want to see their hands. Why? Because if you were back in caveman days and a caveman approached you, you wanted to know, was he carrying a rock or a spear? Was he going to reach out and shake hands with you? Was he going to reach out and punch you? Was he going to reach out and take something from you? And so our brain is very aware of hands for intention. We like to kind of have an eye on, like, where is this person? What are they going to do? Where are they coming from? So course creators who have their camera pulled up so close to them that all they can see is their face, right? When it's like that close, what happens is from an instinctual place, the brain is going, what else is happening? What's this person's intention? So you'll notice in the very beginning part of even this video interview, I said, hello, good to see you. I have my hand up. And the reason for that is, A, it's comfortable. Like I actually usually say hello when I see someone, I'm waving or handshaking. But I'm also telling your brain, you see my hand, right? Like you can trust me. To that amygdala, that happens in the amygdala, we are safe. We are okay here. And the same thing happens. So in the first few seconds, hey, good to see you. Making sure that you pushed your camera far enough away to see a little bit more of your body and your hands. And then also if you're doing like a promo or screenshots of your course, you are really, really better off showing clips or screenshots where you are explaining something with your hands.
Right.
That is going to increase people's curiosity, their trust, more just by seeing that little snapshot of, I can trust her. That's exactly what's happening.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. I did a lot of my original teaching I did with a whiteboard. So I was demonstrating and showing things on a whiteboard. So there's a lot of this. What do you think about having props within it that way?
Oh, I love it. So whiteboard is a really seamless way to add hands being visual, but it's also a way of adding what are called explanatory hand gestures. So we did, I love doing research experiments in our lab, and I love TED Talks. Like I'm obsessed with them, and they're so interesting. And so one day I was on the TED website and I was searching in the search bar, leadership. And up immediately popped 2 talks. And these talks were interesting because it created a kind of a puzzle. One of the talks had over 45 million views, with Simon Sinek's talk.
He uses us.
Yes. Okay, so amazing. Simon Sinek is also my publisher. We have a lot of shared.
Awesome. Nice.
I think I saw his talk first, 45 million views. Yeah. And the second talk was a talk that had under 25,000, and I think it was by Fields Wickermuren. And I looked at these 2 talks, and what was interesting is they were both 18 minutes long. They both came out the same month of the same year, September of 2009. And they both had almost the same title. Very, very, very similar title. I thought to myself, why did one go viral and one didn't? Now, of course, Simon's talk was extremely interesting, but at the time when he first gave it, he was an unknown expert. I mean, just like Fields Wickermuren, no one really knew him before the TED Talk. So I was like, why is it that people gave, Simon a chance, but they didn't give Fields Wickermuren a chance? And so we analyzed thousands of hours of TED Talks looking for patterns. And we found the most popular TED Talkers use an average of 465 hand gestures in 18 minutes. whereas the least popular TED Talkers use an average of 272 hand gestures in 18 minutes.
Wow.
Huge difference here. And our lovely researchers, they counted every single one. They're wonderful. We appreciate them. And what this showed me is that not only do hands show intention, they also show explanation. So if you're whiteboarding, or if I'm talking about like, if I were to say, I have a really big idea, it's really big, it's really important, you kind of laugh because it doesn't look very big. Yeah. And your mind going, but it's not very big, right? Yep. That is because our brain gives nonverbal weight, emphasis to our hand gesture. So if I say I have a really big idea, you're like, wow, that is big, right? Or if I say I want to talk about 3 different things in my course today, right? Yeah. Like this. If I'm saying like I have a huge idea, you're like, whoa, like too big, right? Or if I'm saying I want to talk about a couple little minor issues, right? Or we're going to go through this line by line, step by step. Or I have a framework that I built for you. Right, those are all ways that you're actually speaking to the brain on 2 different tracks, and the brain loves it. So as a teacher, if you incorporate the nonverbal side of your teaching, whether that's through writing, right, through whiteboarding, or through demonstrating concepts, that increases your charisma, but it also increases retention. It helps students want to watch you and not put you on in the background while they're cooking, right? Or lose you in the course. The worst thing is when you have a teacher who is just their face, who is like almost reading directly from a script. It's impossible to learn from that.
Awesome. Great. Okay. The hand gestures, that's definitely really good stuff. So I should be saying you have some good ideas.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So anything else on I love this concept of the breakdown between you've done your job bringing people in to be exposed to your course. Now you've got to convince them to take it and finish it and get value out of it. There's that initial few seconds. Anything beyond the hand gestures, any other stuff you should be doing in there, or just generally through the course in order to encourage that student completion?
So just a couple also additions, and I'll share something else. First, make sure that you are previewing hands like in your demo videos. Like I think it's a really, like you'll notice in most of my promo videos, I have little clips of me teaching throughout the course, and they're always like the most visual ones. They're always like me being like, what's happening? Like over here, because people are like, ooh, what is she explaining? So that's the first thing, is preview that, to promo that. The second thing is facial expressions. So there are 7 universal microexpressions, and they were discovered by Dr. Paul Ekman, and we gauge a lot of emotions and we get a lot of cues from emotions and facial expressions, especially if you're teaching and you are showing your face. We don't even get to see the body usually. If you're teaching full body, I'm very impressed. Hard to get a studio to be able to do that. One is you want to make sure that they are actually seeing your face. So teaching over slides, I actually think it's like stealing money. I know that's crazy, but if you're going to be an online course creator, like you must show your face. You might as well have a podcast then, I feel. So there's lots of softwares you can use to show your face. Like you don't have to be on full screen the whole time. Sometimes we do full screen. I also use Camtasia, where I have my face like in the corner of the video. That increases your charisma and retention so much. So the more you can make sure that you're varying the visual cues every 30 to 60 seconds. So a new bullet, a new slide, a new prop, your face, a whiteboard, that's going to keep that retention up. And that's a really important one. The other aspect of facial expressions is teleprompters. So Greg, do you think that most of your students use teleprompters or not really?
Students or teachers?
All right, most teachers, yeah.
I would go with no. Most of them don't. Okay,
so that's great. If you are going to use teleprompters, you have to be very careful to not accidentally show fear. So a lot of the time when we're reading something, so fear is a universal microexpression. So when we raise our eyelids up so the whites of our eyes show, and we raise our eyebrows up so those wrinkles appear in our forehead, and that is like a fear gesture. The problem is when people are reading or they're in front of bright lights, they will sometimes accidentally show it because they're trying to read the teleprompter really well. So they'll end up looking up like this, where you see that kind of fear expression.
Especially if it's not a true teleprompter where it's above the screen or something, right?
Yes. If you have bullets above the screen, but you're kind of reading, or you have a teleprompter that's like, yeah, like the kind of not real teleprompters. What happens is you end up sending signals off of anxiety. So we as humans are programmed to mirror the person we are looking at. So if we're with someone and they are calm and they're relaxed and they have like nice facial expressions, we also feel calm and relaxed. If I hold my eyes like this for long enough, you will begin to feel anxious yourself because you begin to actually mirror those emotions. And so by doing that, we accidentally send off signs of nervousness. I don't mind teleprompters, by the way. I use teleprompters in some of my courses, not all of them. Just make sure that when you're doing it, it's a real one, so that you're reading through the words, so you're not over looking up. And that you have written them yourself. So the biggest mistake I see is that people will read scripts that they have not written. Yeah. And so it sounds like they're reading. And here's like the difference of the example. So you heard me explain my TED Talk research earlier. So if I were to say, we did this massive TED Talk experiment. We analyzed thousands of hours of TED Talks. And what was interesting is we found that hand gestures was a really important part of that research. Here's what it would sound like if I was reading it from a teleprompter. In 2010, we decided to look at TED Talk research. In this TED Talk research, we found a number of patterns. These patterns were that hand gestures are the most important thing in your research. Like the difference is like incredible, like from a vocal standpoint, from an eye or reading standpoint. And so I would say that be very careful of scripts. They tend to kill charisma. Not always, but sometimes. A lot of the time.
That's awesome. I've got some good research I should share with you on that too, which would really link up with that in terms of that one of the top 10 factors in terms of getting students to finish courses relates to the personality and sort of not personality, but informal personality while you're teaching. So if you come on and you use things, the simplest way of is exactly what you just did, or something like, when one approaches a problem, one will solve it this way versus like, okay, so when you get to this problem, you're going to do this, this, and this, right? And you're much more, you need to have the conversation like you're two people having a cup of coffee or a beer or something.
And I would actually write your courses with that in mind. So like when I write scripts, because I do some scripts, or if I'm like writing bullets, I'm like, how would I explain this to my ideal student across a cup of coffee? Yeah. And oftentimes that softens me up, especially because I tend to teach about science, and science can be, a little boring. If I'm teaching science, especially, I'm like, okay, if I had to break this down for a 12-year-old or a 5-year-old, how would I do that? Not because I'm trying to dumb it down, because I'm just trying to explain it in a way that is very conversational. Vocal charisma was, by the way, another really important thing for those TED Talks. Oh yeah. Like for example, you look at Brene Brown or Ken Robinson. When they take the stage, they're almost like, hey, what's up? So this is a crazy idea. Like they're almost like that kind of a very casual, informal setting. Mm-hmm. A lot of people feel like when they're on video or they're in a studio or they're teaching, they have to be really formal. But actually the brain does not like that, right? Like they like deliver, and that's actually not the best way. And that also is nonverbal too. So when you're looking at it from a body language perspective, being broad. So like I always have chairs, you can't see my chair, but I have armrests in my chair. The reason for that is because it helps me use my armrest. So like my arms are on my armrest right now. If I didn't have armrest, I would be much more likely to be like this. Yeah. That's okay. But actually having the armrest, it's a really easy way to immediately put my shoulders down and back, and it has my head go up. So when I'm filming too, I will either be standing so that I'm much more fluid with my hands, or I always have filming chairs with armrests. Right. And by the way, if you're filming in a studio, make sure that you have enough space for the camera to be far enough back to try to get your torso and above. You'll notice all my videos, all my courses are torso and above, so that at least I almost always wear a belt. And I always tell my cameraman, gotta get my belt. Not because I like my belts, but because I know that that's more of my body, so they'll see my hand gestures when I'm talking.
Awesome. This is all such good stuff. And I know we don't have a ton of time left, so I've got more questions for you, but just, this is me even personally thinking this, and I'm sure other people watching are thinking this too, but where do you have all of this wisdom stored? Is this in the book? Is it in your courses? Is it on your site? Because I want more, and I know other people too. Yes. So my favorite hacks, I call them human behavior hacks, because I think
people can be programmed in a good way is mostly in my book. So I think you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Can we see that? Can we see that again?
Yes. You can see my sticky tabs. I was taking notes on things that I wanted to add, but yes,
nice.
that there is.
Awesome.
So most of it is in there. And then if you really, you can look at my Thinkific courses. That's more advanced though.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. I'm going to grab a copy. Yeah. And, that's really cool. So I've actually been taking notes. That's why I'm not, being rude. I don't normally look off to the side.
No, I love
things, but I couldn't resist. I started taking notes. So we could do a recap on that kind of stuff, maybe quickly. And then if you have other stuff that you want to add to, that's always good, but good to know too, that you have that. And I'm sure a lot more in the book too. So let's see, here's what I gotten out of it so far. First impressions, that's everything for even convincing people to just take your course. And that's like what, 7 seconds you said?
7 seconds. Yeah.
Okay. Use your hands, right? Get them out there so people can see them. And then later on, I had the note of show your torso, which is great. I try and shoot at least below the belt and up. But yeah, get the torso in there. 30 to 60 seconds between some kind of change or interaction, whether it's like a bullet point or a slide or an image or change. So what if it's just you torso up and you want to have a change every 30 to 60 seconds? What do you do there?
Yes, great questions. So you can do this with bullets, like floating bullets. So you can I'll do that often. I'll sometimes add in images next to me. We just did, it's not out yet, but of course on lie detection in 100 minutes. We're going to put it on Thinkific. It's 100 minutes, it's $100. In that course, I faced that problem because I had to squeeze all this info into 100 minutes. So I couldn't have all these slides. And so what we did is we had all these floating animations and floating bullets. Yeah. So if I was talking about a brain, we used VideoScribe, which is a great software. If you check it out, they do animations. So we have like an animation of a brain being drawn.
Cool.
So when I was talking about the brain science, we broke it up with that. So animations, floating bullets, inverted slides, a hovered picture, like picture within a picture in your video editing software, banners. Those all work really, really well. And we do that a lot in our lie detection course if you want to see it.
Okay, definitely. I'll check that out. Now, I know you have probably more of a budget, more of a team, more of a studio than most. I've got the same benefit here now. But for someone who's just them or on a budget or new on the technology side, especially, even time-wise, is there the fastest way to get a few of these things in?
Yes. So I did all of my original courses on my iPhone with no studio and no professional lights. The only thing that I have from my first 3 courses, and we sold, I think 32,000 copies of those. So you do not need to have a studio, was one $35 microphone from Amazon. Okay. So the fastest way to do it, I think, is creating a slide deck on your PowerPoint or Keynote, getting Camtasia. Actually, that's easier for beginners because you can do your thing in the corner. Yeah. Just hitting record. Maybe you can get a microphone. You can also use your earbuds, although I wouldn't recommend those for a course, but you can get some kind of microphone and just teaching with the slides in the background because you can click through them right there. You can do almost no editing. You can cycle through bullets, have your face, and you almost need to do no editing.
So you don't green screen that though? You're just kind of in the corner?
I usually have a real background. I almost never green screen. I don't particularly like green screens.
I'm not that big. I used to do a ton of it, but not that big a fan anymore. So you don't green screen it. You just do a small, like picture in picture kind of thing, which Camtasia makes super easy to do. There's no editing to do that.
Yeah. And I have a screen or I have a wall or I use a bookshelf. And that is way, way better than green screen. Don't even worry about getting a green screen. Just a beautiful bookshelf.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, green screen is a lot of fun. I've got some hilarious videos of me from pre 2000, I think, of being green screened into the most hilarious scenarios that were probably more fun to edit than for anybody to watch, other than for giggle value. Going down our list of everything else though, I didn't want to miss anything else. So next one I had was use your face. So facial expressions, right? And no fear, don't show fear. In particular, by having to look up there at, what's my next line, right? On the telephone. Exactly. So write your own script and I think write it informally and personally, and whether you have a script or not, doing things informally sounds like the way to go. And then you said vocal charisma, which I think is a great one and I hadn't really considered before, but I think that goes all towards the whole personality in there, which is great.
I guess the last thing I would say is you probably taught your content a million times before, right? You've got it in classes, you've explained it to people. And so you've heard it. The problem is if you explain it like you've said it a million times before, people will hear it like they've heard it before. So it's really important that you practice teaching or saying those things in different ways. So one thing that I do with some of my students is if they lack vocal charisma, is I make them say their elevator pitch or their like most commonly asked question in different accents. So I'll make them say it like a toddler. I'll make them say it in an Irish accent. I'll make them say it in an Australian accent just to get them out of the habit of saying it the same way. So vocal charisma comes from that. Pretend like you've never said it before and like you're explaining it for the first time. Awesome.
That's great. That's a cool way to do it. And then would you maybe even have them mix it up? Like don't use your script, try it a different way.
Oh yeah. I mean, like that's why Q&A can be so great. Like sometimes if we're like teaching off of slides, we're in the same cadence, right? Like I hit my bullets the same way. But if you're like, oh wait, like we're going to switch. I'm going to take some questions from my readers. So Sarah said, it just breaks up the vocal charisma a little bit, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, to be honest, I find my best teaching stuff has always come from either one-on-one tutoring or Q&A of some kind, because people prompt you to get into like a more subtler way of describing something or something that you took for granted that you didn't realize people didn't know, or just going to even like on a sales call or talking to a client about how they would implement something. Half the time I get off the phone, I'm like, oh, I wish I had a recording of that. That was like, everybody should hear that who's there's, I try not to be egotistical there, but yeah, lots of we could share.
And I highly recommend like creating an FAQ lecture in your courses. So oftentimes I create FAQ lectures like after the fact, like after I get questions from students, but actually you might want to seed that lecture with FAQ questions, because then students will see it and be like, oh, I should go ask questions too. And then you're like, go to my Facebook group or, go to my forums or whatever it is. So I highly recommend seeding with an FAQ after each section or at the end of the course, either one.
Awesome. Especially if you're doing the FAQ with video responses.
Yes. Well, hopefully you're only doing the FAQ with video responses.
Yes. Okay. To clarify though, because I think a lot of people think of it as like a section that just has a list of text questions, but having it as doing some video responses to it.
Yeah, that's going to sell way more courses. Like you'll see, if you look at any of our landing pages, we often like embed videos in the landing page. Yeah. Just because I know that I'm going to hit different needs. I'm going to hit different learnings. And so you can even do an FAQ on video before people buy the course.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, that probably takes us to a good point, because I know you've got another thing to get to as well. And, but we should do this again, because there was a lot of gold in there, and I want to share this with people. And I'd like to dig in more and find out about some more of the research you've done. But it sounds like the best place for people to check you out is check out the book Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. You can find that on, I guess just Googling is the easiest way, your local bookstore soon. Amazon.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. And then also thescienceofpeople.com as well, right? Anywhere else where we could track you down?
That's the best place. And please play in our lab. We have tons of experiments going on. So click around and play with us. We love it.
Amazing. That's awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Bye.